This is Andy Purewal for ID Boxing. I'm joined by Paul Smith Jr. over Zoom. Paul, how are you? How was Christmas?
I'm all right, thanks, mate. It was good. It was great, thanks. Just got back from Florida. I've been over in Florida for a couple of weeks with the kids and my missus and my mother-in-law, and ran the fairs and the theme parks and Disney and Universal. So I'm shattered, to be honest with you. But apart from that, yeah, great. It was worth it. It was good. My little girl's 7, she's at a great age now, so good to get her over there. My lad and my twins have been a couple of times, so it was great. But I'm all Disneyed out and Universaled out.
Well, man, I'm glad it was a good one. I'm supposing you've got a much more chilled plans for New Year's.
Yeah, we never moved. New Year. New Year's always the same tradition. Stay in, get a load of food sent in, trading places on the telly, Jules Holland, and don't move. And don't go anywhere. New Year's pretty boring. Staying every year as a family. One year we had a party in our Liam's house, so that was it. I think that'll be happening again probably next year, but definitely not this year with his big fight coming up, obviously.
I was about to ask, obviously, we will come on to the fights shortly, and obviously Callum getting ready himself. But what will be the plan for everybody over Christmas with both Liam and Callum, at least Callum in his case, ticking over, but Liam's deep into camp now?
Yeah, that's it. There's nothing happening. They're just training hard and working hard. I was in the gym this morning with Liam and Callum. Liam was working well with Declan. Some good pads. I was working with Callum, doing a little bit of ticking over until he gets over to LA or Florida with Buddy to start his camp. But the camp started. Basically, he's going to go over and do his first few hard weeks in the States with Buddy, and then Buddy's going to be over here for the last 4 or 5 weeks of Callum's camp. So both of them are fully in the groove, so to speak, and Liam's looking really good at the moment.
We'll start off with Liam, Paul, with his fight. Sorry, we'll come on to Liam shortly, but as we come towards the end of this year, what's been your highlights? What do you recollect the most about the 2022 boxing schedule?
Well, to be honest with you, it's hard admitting it. I've took my eye off the ball a fair bit recently with the boxing, and just it gets to that stage where I'm all like, so many networks, so many channels to watch boxing, and I've gone a little bit like I was when I very first retired, where I took a little step back and don't really want to watch much of it at the minute. I'm involved in it still, obviously. I manage fighters, and my brothers are fighting, so I'm getting get to some of the great fights. I'm commentating for Purewal, and we've been a little bit quiet this year, but picked up towards the end of the year, and we'll have a massive 2023, and I'll be busy with that. But when I'm working, I do my studying. When I'm working, I watch up and I read up, and I pay more attention then, and I like a little break and a little release from it now. But the highlights will always be obviously of my brothers. We got a chance to get over to New York with Liam, Liverpool Echo Arena with Liam, Callum over in Saudi. The Usyk AJ Bill, which was a great event, a great spectacle. Obviously, it's good seeing what's happening over in Saudi. There's big things happening over there with the boxing at the moment, and similar with Abu Dhabi, although I've never been. It's looking great what they're doing at the moment with the boxing. But Saudi, in specifically in particular, I manage a fighter called Ziad Al Mayouf Zizzo, and he made his debut on the AJ Usyk Bill with Callum. He's trained by Buddy McGirt. He's going to have a big one coming up soon in February. And got to sort of appreciate Saudi a little bit more while I was there with him and get to see the real side of it. First time we went with Callum when he beat George Groves years ago, it was a little bit different at the time. And we didn't really get to see all that much of it. But this time going back, it was great. But highlights for me, obviously, personally, will be what my two brothers are doing. I'm lucky being around them and getting to see it. There's been some great fights out there, though. There's been some sort of jaw-dropping moments, and AJ Usyk, as I said, it was a massive event, a massive show, but it was really, really difficult for Anthony Joshua and his career, and could have been a career-ending one. I don't think he should be retiring, but I wouldn't blame him if he did after coming back, giving everything he had, or what he felt was everything he had, and coming up short against someone who's a great fighter in Usyk. A lot of people who don't quite get the boxing don't quite understand how good Usyk is and how good he is at nullifying what you do. How he's an elite fighter, top class amateur, top class professional, and will will give any single heavyweight in the world a run for the money, Fury included.
We'll come on to AJ shortly, and again, just going back to Liam firstly, Paul. How's his camp started for Chris Eubank Jr. from your perspective?
Going good. It's going really good. As I said, I've missed the last sort of just over 2 weeks with being away, being in the States. But back in today, first thing I did was see him, was wish him all the best, give him a hug, Merry Christmas, nice to see you. When I hugged him and put my arms around him, I noticed he's a lot smaller, he's a lot lighter, he's in shape. He's been working hard while I've been away. I've been getting little bits of feedback from Callum and Stephen, because I don't want to bother him too much, and he's training well, everything's on track, and when Eubank was saying in them press conferences, I know what happened in the spars. I remember sparring your brother. I don't remember sparring you. I'm the brother that he was sparring. I remember the spars well. Liam remembers well, and Chris Eubank will remember well, and so will his dad. And you don't forget them type of spars when things like that happen. I'm old school, so is my brothers, so are my brothers, so is my brother Liam, and things stay in the gym. Sparring stays in the gym. I can't stand seeing all these young kids putting videos of themselves sparring on the internet and Twitter and Instagram, and they're splattering poor little kids or young kids or old journeymen, and they're absolutely flattening fellas or beating fellas up. And what are you getting out of it? You're not getting nothing out of showing a video. Sparring stays in the gym. So long story short, we know what happens in that spar. We know Eubank can be hit. We know Liam can hit Eubank, and I fully believe that he'll do it again on the 21st of January. But yeah, he's looking good. He's his usual narky self. The moody narky self today, but that's expected of him. He's in fight camp, and with us around him, his brothers, his family, his friends, just trying to make it as easy as we can for him, so he can concentrate on his training and this massive opportunity that he's got.
Paul, I can tell that you're not going to delve any more into that past sparring experience with Junior in the gym, but just to touch on this, so everybody knows the stories that Liam dropped him with a body shot during sparring. Just on that note, and I interviewed Liam a couple of weeks ago up in the gym, and we touched on it there. And he says he knows that Junior has a granite chin, but he himself has a granite chin, and that doesn't mean that he can't break Junior down to the body. Now, of course, we know about Junior's past, I wouldn't say struggles, because he's never said it himself, but he's always looked like he's maybe had to push himself a bit harder to get to 160. The kind of Ben fight, he still made weight, even though that got cancelled. Do you feel like that's a way that Liam will look to approach a fight? He'll look to go to the body and slow Junior down and potentially stop him like that?
Liam approaches every fight that way, and most fighters who are good body punchers will always approach a fight that way. You can't neglect the body, and if you do, you're a fool. You'll have the best chin in the world, as I say, but if you get it hard to the body, you're going. And listen, just because you've got a granite chin doesn't mean you're not going to get hurt either. How many times have we seen it? I say it about Joe Joyce. I like Joe Joyce. I love the style. I love watching him fight. What I've said about him, this is just my opinion. This is just purely my opinion. But it probably also stands for Chris Eubank and other people like that as well. When you've got that good a chin, it's going to be one shot that's going to turn your lights out completely, and you're going to go bad. And then from then on, it mightn't be as great a chin as you probably assumed you had or knew you had. Time takes a toll on everyone. Eventually, the chin is only going to be great until it's not great, and it's going to be one shot that will turn that around. So I wouldn't completely rule out the fact that Liam can't hit him to the head, because he's a big puncher. Liam, he can punch his spiteful, he's accurate, but he punches really hard to the body, and he's very, very good to the body. Liam, Liam gets stopped in the street by Mexicans and Americans when we're over there. Liam walked around Mexico, got stopped at a petrol station by women in Mexico. They love him how he fights. They've watched him against Canelo. He's exciting. He's valuable for money, and he's an exciting all-round fighter that goes well to the body. He's always going to be fan-friendly. Eubank, I rate Eubank. I respect him. I've sparred him. Liam respects him. Eubank respects Liam. Eubank respects fighters that he's been in, whether he says it or not. But this is a good fight, and on paper, it's been sort of, in my opinion, mistranslated and completely taken the wrong way by people who don't quite get the boxing. And you can put Chris Eubank Jr. on that list as well. He's saying, like, you haven't fought anyone of my caliber. He's been in behind McGirt and Canelo. You haven't been in the ring with someone of my caliber. He spars with the Callum a fair few times. and you pay to watch them spars, and he more than holds his own in them spars. He handles himself well with big super middles and light heavies. He always has done. I used to spar Liam a lot myself, and I knew when I'd be talking about sparring that my opponents would probably be thinking, you're sparring a light middleweight, but he's not a normal light middleweight. He's very, very strong, tough, and can hold his own again, as I said. But people keep looking at this fight as if like Liam's the underdog, as in Chris Eubank is some world champion or a former world champion. He hasn't won a world title. The IBO was on a world title belt. But Liam's a former world champion, proven he's won a world title. Gave a very, very good account of himself against Canelo and against Munguia. But them type of fighters, Chris Eubank cannot put himself in that bracket of them two fighters, and has got no right doing so. But the average fan on the street probably will, because it's Chris Eubank. So they're looking at this fight as if like it's, Liam, might have a chance. And for me, it's the other way around. The favourite is in this fight, the better resume, the better career, the better calibre of opponent, the better better win, even is for me probably for Liam. But it's being misread as the other way. And, I'm just sort of smiling, brushing it off. But secretly, I know what's going on. I know me boxing, and I know things often get misconstrued, mistranslated by the average fan and the average person who follows boxing, as in like, oh, that's a tricky one. And for me, you have to look at it the other way. At the end of the day, Liam's a former world champion and is looking to get that title back and win another world title. Chris Eubank is he's had a stop-start career, so to speak, and is yet to win a world title. So for me, you can't really say them type of things that he's saying until you've actually done it and walked the walk and won the world title yourself.
Paul, we've seen Junior team back up with Roy Jones Jr. for this fight. With that in mind, how do you expect him to approach this fight? How do you expect him to play when they're in the ring?
I'm glad he's with Roy Jones. Again, not personal, no digs whatsoever. Roy Jones is a legend, and someone I admire, and I've met a couple of times, and I've got nothing but respect for him. But the way he's trying to teach Eubank how to box, and the way Eubank is trying to box with him, is not good for Eubank. Again, I've been in the ring with Eubank, so I'm qualified to say this. He's not good at boxing, he's good at fighting. He's a good fighter. He's good when his head's on your chest. When he's on the back foot and trying to box, for me, he's nowhere near as good as what he can be when he's on the front foot and he's aggressive and he makes a fight of it. So for me, as a family member of Liam, as part of Liam's sort of team or circle or whatever you want to call it, I'd much prefer Eubank to come out and try and box him. So if he does, I think Liam will grind him down. I think there'll be 6 or 7 rounds gone, and then he'll have to change and revert to type and change the tactics up. But again, all the mind games, all the bullshit you see in the press conference, I'll only have to train and be at 50% or this or that. If you're that sort of lackluster and unbothered about Liam, then why are you getting Roy Jones in? Why are you flying him in? Why are you paying his hotel, his wages, as 10% or whatever you might be paying him if you don't need him? You weren't going to get him in for the Conor Benn fight, which I feel Eubank would have won well because of the size difference. But you need him in for Liam, and you feel like you have to get him for Liam. And like I read a few comments on Liam's latest post where he calls him a silly cunt. That word is a term of endearment in Liverpool. We use it like confetti, as you know as well. It's not really. But the amount of people that are saying, "Oh, Liam's rattled," but Liam's just proving a point and just pointing out the point. You said you weren't asked about me. You ain't going to change that. But you're in the gym Christmas Day sparring. Liam was sitting with his family having a bit of food with his family on Christmas Day, taking the rest day, because he's done the work Christmas Eve and he'll do the work Boxing Day and so on and so forth. You're in the gym making a point of being in the gym sparring on Christmas Day, and I get it. It's all, drama, content, so to speak, as all these new kids say now. And I understand what it is and what it's about, but you're in the gym Christmas Day sparring because you need to spar, you need to be ready for this fight because it's a proper fight.
One thing that's something I want to bring up. We saw that video of him sparring, as what he said was Christmas Day, and we've seen him talk about how he only needs to be 50% to beat Liam. We also saw him do and take a similar approach for what would have been the Conor Benn fight. What are your thoughts on Junior's approach in that sense?
It is what it is. He's a showman. Liam will obviously say now because he's fighting him. He's a clown, and he's not Liam's cup of tea. He's probably not any of our cup of tea. But as a fighter, I respect him a lot, and so the all of us, you got to respect him, and he will respect other people in boxing. As I say, he just mightn't say it. But the facts are, when you've been in the ring with someone, you share the ring with someone, you have a respect for each other. And he's just got this attitude for me, Eubank. I've watched him for years, and like even like the interviews, like this jag American accent. I don't know where this accent's come from him. People are different. It takes all kinds of sorts and different strokes to make the world go round. And it'd be bored if we were all the same. But I'm sure we're not his cup of tea, and I'm certainly not his cup of tea, and he's not our cup of tea. But as I say, fighting aside, he needs to just get his head on Liam and concentrate on Liam. All I hear off him every time something's mentioned is, I'm the bad guy, this, Conor Benn. No one's asked about Conor Benn. Conor Benn is a lovely kid. I've met him plenty of times. He's got his own issues to deal with. And he'll deal with them, and what the truth will come out, whatever's happened. It's not nice, it's not good. It's not something I condone if what is yet to be proven comes out that he has cheated and taken performance-enhancing drugs, then for me there should be no way back. If he is innocent, then for me he should be, apologised to, all forgotten about, brushed over, carry on with his career. I hope he's a success, because I like the kid. But we'll see when all that comes out. But why is Chris Eubank constantly talking about Conor Benn? You're not fighting Conor Benn now, you're fighting Liam Smith. And on paper, the Benn fight will have sold more, will have made you more money, whatever you want to dress it up as. But this is a better fight, and a bigger fight, and a more interesting fight, because not more interesting because the fathers made that fight massively interesting, and the weight difference and the weight disparity made that an interesting fight. But this is a proper fight. This is a good fight. This isn't a welterweight against a middleweight. This is a big light middleweight against a former light middleweight who's now a middleweight himself. And the styles will gel perfectly. There's no question marks over Liam's chin, whereas there possibly was over Conor Benn's chin, who's been down a couple of times before off suspect shots, so to speak. And again, I'm not putting the kid down saying that, it's just a fact. This is a proper, as people would say in the trade, a 50-50 fight. And in a lot of people's opinion, that rings true. So I think this fight, Eubank needs to just, forget about Conor Benn. I think I'm sick of hearing about it when the press conferences are on. And for me, I'm sitting there thinking, you're fighting Liam Smith, and all you're talking about is Conor Benn. So I hope he's got his eye off the ball, and I hope he does turn up at 50%, as he said, because Liam will literally wipe the floor if he is 50%. But we all know he's not going to be 50%.
Paul, obviously away from Matt, you mentioned Callum. He's in the gym now. He's sat pretty at the #1 spot with the WBC. Just before we come onto that, Beterbiev Yarde, the fight he will be keeping a keen eye on at the end of January. What are your thoughts on that fight, firstly?
Beterbiev and Yarde.
Yeah.
Again, I've been wrong plenty of times before. I'm sure we all have, but I can't see anything but a Beterbiev winning, a Beterbiev stoppage. I just don't feel Yarde, as nice a kid he is, as talented as he is, I don't think he's got anywhere enough to keep Beterbiev off. Now, again, people talk about the power of Yarde. I'm yet to sort of see it in with a top-class caliber of opponent that he's fought. It's okay knocking journeyman over and flattening journeyman and hating journeyman, or people who are there to sort of, with a bit of ambition, but not much sort of gumption, so to speak, or not much substance. When you can hit fighters on that level, there's a big difference in the step up in power. You can be a massive puncher at British title level, you get up to world level, it's a total different ball game. You can be tough as all boots at domestic level, European level, but when you get up to that top level, it's a different caliber of toughness that's needed. And speaking from experience, the top level punches are top level, and the British level, European level punches, you think the top level at the time, but when you get up there, you realise you're in for the shock. And I'm yet to see Yarde do that at that level, so to speak, or do it at any real level above fighting for the British title, hating people or having people over. But again, I've maybe feelings clear on the training setup that he's got. I just can't see him doing anything with the setup that he's got. I think he needs a big change. I've said this for years and years, and I'll never not say it, about his trainer, Tundi. For me, he needs to get as far away as he can, get himself a top-class trainer who's interested in Anthony Yarde and not himself, who's willing to put the work in with him. who's willing to help him improve, teach him when he's doing things wrong, correct him, tell him no, which is what he needs, tell him he's, force him to do things which he probably doesn't want to do, which is what a good trainer will do for you. And I think it'll ultimately make him a better fighter. Get out of the small pond you're in. You're the big fish in the small pond all the time, and you're the only fighter in the gym who's actually done it. And the whole gym is standing around, patting you on the back and clapping you and cheering for you. And that's what makes you tick. As I say, we're all different. Go for it, but it's not my cup of tea. I think he needs a different way, a different method to stand any chance in this fight. But obviously, it's a bit too late now. We haven't got long to wait for the fight. It's the end of the month. And I think Beterbiev, you've got probably two ways to beat him. One of them looks impossible, and that's to try and keep him off you for 12 rounds and I'll box him. And the other one is to go with him, stand with him, try and have a shootout with him because he's been there before, he's been down before. And if you've got a good chin, you're confident in your defence, and you don't punch your hands, and you can land and keep him down, then that might be the plan for that one. But I think a Beterbiev win, and I think he'd probably stop him, middle rounds.
Paul, with that in mind, means that we look towards a potential fight with Artur Beterbiev and your brother Callum. It's been well documented that Artur can be hurt, and people go back to a fight which you guys were there supporting Callum Johnson when he hurt Artur Beterbiev early in their fight. We've seen Callum step up to light heavyweight now, stopped both of his opponents, look very good in doing so too. How confident are you that it would be the right time for Callum to face Artur Beterbiev, because age is also a factor there?
Exactly, he's not getting any younger. I can't sort of sit and say everything that will work for Callum won't work for Anthony Yarde, because it can, but I just feel Callum is a better fighter than Anthony Yarde, and is proven. You've got a great chin, serious power, very, very good boxing ability, been around the block, very experienced, been there and done it, won the world title, been number one in the division, been with the best in the world. So it's different for when you're speaking for Callum against Beterbiev. Plus, Callum's non-punching and Callum's defence when he's in the pocket swinging away, he's very, very more technically sound than what Anthony Yarde is. Again, if we got into a shootout, I'd be very confident with Callum and anyone in the world in a shootout, Beterbiev included. But I'd also be very, very fearful of Callum in there with Beterbiev, because he's a monster, and that's a fact. We've all seen it. We've all seen what he can do. He's a devastating puncher, stupidly strong, but he's not getting any younger, as you say. And massively respected, and rightfully so, for what he's done in boxing. But age catches up with everyone, and it could happen in this fight. He might get in and just look his age against Anthony Yarde. Who knows? But I just think he hits that hard, and he's that methodical in what he does. He works constantly. He's constantly training. He's constantly in shape, as is Callum, and he's constantly working to try and better himself again, as is Callum. So it's a mouth-watering fight. It's a brilliant fight, brilliant opportunity for Callum. I'm sure it's one that Beterbiev would probably rather not have against Callum, but he's a man to take challenges. So fingers crossed, if and when it happens, everything falls into place in the right way for Callum, speaking as a brother there.
Paul, once again, just moving forwards, and you mentioned Anthony Joshua earlier. What will be happening next with him? Because I've seen his comments where he spoke about retirement not being too far away for him now. But at the minute, he's just been out in America, floating around with different gyms, working with different trainers. Though James, Virgil Hunter he's mentioned Roy Jones Jr. himself. On that note, what do you make of it at this stage of Anthony's career, where he did it before the Usyk rematch, went around to different gyms before settling on Angel Fernandez and Robert Garcia, him to be doing it again? What are your thoughts on that? Because does he create confusion? Should he be more settled at this stage?
Listen, I don't know. I've had my opinion on it, and I'm speaking as someone who really admires Anthony Joshua, and I'm sure if he sees this, he's going to not be interested one slight bit, in my opinion. But for me, you're going all around America, you're looking at coaches, you're interviewing coaches, you're looking to try and find the best one, and you bring them home and you're having working with another coach. And for me, it should just be one coach. Get your boxing coach, get your strength and conditioning coach if you want one, get a running coach if you want to run a coach, and a swimming coach Get a dancing coach if you want. Do whatever you want to do, but your boxing coach is your boxing trainer. One person and one voice. That's who will drive your game plan. That's who will find a way how you're going to beat this top-class champion in Usyk who's already beaten you before. And you sort of plan together and you get the right sparring partners in and you get the right training methods in, and the strength and conditioning coach will work around your boxing coach and not the other way. And your boxing coach is your trainer. That's why he's getting 10% or whatever it might be that they agree. But obviously someone like Anthony Joshua. But that's your main coach. And straight away, you get that boxing coach. You've got to make him the boss. What do you want me to do? I want you in the gym today doing this. You're looking tired today. I want you to go home. And you've got to listen to that coach. And you're paying that coach, putting your faith and technically your life in his hands and your well-being in his hands. So trust him to do it. But for me, again, I've said this about Angel. I don't know the fella. I've never met him. I can only watch as an outsider like everyone else does. I know he trains Big Fraser, who I like and I admire. I think he's a talented fighter. But I just don't see what he does and what he did on fight night. And people in that corner telling me he was in with a shout or he was winning. For me, he was never in the fight. And it's okay saying, come out and put it on Usyk. It's very, very hard to do. And if it was that easy, everyone would be sitting there with world title belts. It's harder than it looks. It's harder than it seems. But for me, I felt he was really good. I think it was round 9 in Saudi. I was watching it from ringside, so I couldn't hear him commentary, and I haven't watched the fight back. I was watching it from a few rows back, and he had a great round, and he emptied the tank, Joshua. But then Usyk started coming back into it, and just towards the end of that round, if I'm not mistaken, and then won the next round after that and broke him. And it's okay after saying, you know, I'm not 14 stone, I can't do that. Tyson Fury can. I know he's a different animal altogether, and a different body type, different composition, different methods of training, different ways of training. But Buddy McGirt's one of the best at you know, lines and quotes and sound bites or whatever you want to call them. And the first thing he always asks every time is, how's that going to help me win a fight? And if a fight is there and he's jumping up and down on boxes, the first question is, how's that going to help me win a fight? If you want to win a fight and you want to be better at boxing and better at fighting, you have to do more boxing and more fighting. And if and when it gets hard in the 9th round or the 10th round, you've got to empty the tank. If you haven't done that in the gym, if you don't go there in the gym, you're not going to be able to go there on fight night. And coaching-wise, I was happy it never happened, to be honest with you, because obviously he trains me brother Callum, and it would have took a lot of time off Callum. Buddy McGirt would be absolutely perfect for Anthony Joshua. But he has to listen, and he has to want to be in the gym, putting the work in, doing your sparring, doing your rounds, training when the coach says so. And I'm not saying he doesn't do this. He might do all of this. It might just be, you know, rumours and sound bites that we're hearing. But there's a reason why training methods haven't changed too drastically in the last 100 years. You still punch the heavy bag. You still do the pads sometimes. You still spar. You still do your road work. You know, there's a reason why all of that is still there, probably 100 years down the line. And it's because it works. Because there's no sort of magic potion and magic formula and no new way of training. And I'm constantly seeing these Instagram coaches all over the internet trying to make new ways and new methods of doing things. And I see these videos now where the coach goes like that, no, and then do it this way, and they're doing it wrong themselves. How can you teach someone if you can't do it yourself? You know, you've got to be able to, at least, if you're teaching someone, showing someone how to do something, you've got to be able to do it properly yourself to pass that on. And I don't know if all these coaches are sort of qualified, so to speak. There's qualifications, but there's also being qualified to coach fighters, as in you've been there and done it, you've been around these top coaches and you've seen it and you've done it, rather than just, you know, I've watched a lot of boxing and I think I can do this and I think I can do that. And this boxing game is tough enough. But for Anthony Joshua, I just think he needs a top-class coach with no ego, who's there to help Anthony Joshua, but who Anthony Joshua is also willing to listen to. And I hope he does it, and I hope he finds something, and I hope he finds the right setup and it clicks for them, because it would be a shame to see him retire. He's been absolutely brilliant for British boxing. He's a role model for so many kids up and down the country. I said about him from day one. For me, he seems like he's a bad kid trying to be good all the time. He seems like he's got that rough. He's obviously got that, you know, that rough council estate potential to go right down the wrong path. And he turned his life around and changed everything around and made a complete success story out of his own life. He's a multi-millionaire. He never has to get out of bed again, yet he still chooses to, and still chooses to put himself through this to fight. And that says a lot about him as well, because I think I'd struggle getting out of bed to fight his bank balance. You know what I mean? I think a lot of us would, to get out of bed and go to the gym and spar and train, put yourself through it, and move away from your family and friends to go and put yourself through another training camp to go and fight one of the best fighters ever in Usyk, because that's what he is at the moment. So I hope he finds it. I hope he gets the right training set up around him. I'd love to see him in fights with the likes of Wilder and other people. You know, I'd love to see the Fury fight, obviously. But whether it happens or not is another matter.
Paul, just one final one on all of that then. You mentioned Buddy. Obviously, I wouldn't imagine that being the case now with Buddy teaming up with Dillian White. But on that note, has Buddy ever, to your knowledge, had any conversations around the AJ team potentially being able to work together just for a trial period for any of his last couple of years?
I had a couple of chats with him in the gym, but not would you train him or not have you reached out. And Buddy certainly won't be reaching out. And again, that's another thing, you know, the amount of trainers that are trying to put the name in the hat, you should avoid them also, in my opinion. But the amount of people that are like, I'd do it myself for the amount of money that's being offered to the trainer for it, because of the amount of money that he's on. But it shouldn't be about that. You know, if Anthony Joshua needs to look for the coach and find a coach. And as I said, I was glad he didn't go to Buddy in LA or Vero Beach, wherever he was based at the time, Buddy, because he's a top-class boxing coach. But that's it. Buddy's not going to time you doing your swimming or your running. Buddy's not going to go in the strength gym with you and ask, what are you doing in the strength gym? Buddy will finish a session with you. You'll go home and he'll see you tomorrow. We need you in this time tomorrow. We're boxing tomorrow. We're sparring tomorrow. We're doing this tomorrow. You know, be in tomorrow. And it'll be the heavy bag or the mitts or sparring. And it's the boxing training, the technical side, the tactical side. You know, that's where I feel in the last fight. That's what I feel was lacking. The tactical side of things, the technical side. You know, what's the game plan? I didn't really get the game plan in the last Usyk fight. Especially, definitely in the first one, I didn't get the game plan either. You know, and that's just me as a boxing fan watching, as someone who thinks they know a bit about boxing. You know, but the game plan wasn't there for me. Whereas in fights with a top coach and a top trainer by you, there will be a game plan, and he will have studied the fighter, and he'll know the fighter, and he'll know what you need to do well and what you do bad. And a top trainer will always know how to beat you better than your opponent will. And that's what you should have around you. And I don't feel he's had that since probably Robert McCracken, who I think is a brilliant coach. But obviously the relationship wasn't working. They went their own way. But I think if you're going to bring someone else in, you know, they've got to be at least on McCracken's level or above.
Paul, we got 5 minutes left before his time's out, and I've got 2 questions just to quickly throw at you. If we see Fury Usyk next, you've just spoken so highly about Alexander Usyk, but what are your thoughts on that fight? How would it go?
I said I think it by no means a foregone conclusion, but I can't see past Fury. I think Fury is too big and will probably, you know, be the bigger man and probably have far too much in the tank and size-wise, you know, awkwardness. But never write Usyk off for that fight. I think he's exceptional, as I say, and he'll find a way somehow to try and, you know, win that fight. But I just can't see past Fury for it. So yeah, I'd have to pick Fury.
And then the final one, Sonny Edwards and Bam Rodriguez. Now, the reason I bring this up is because obviously Sonny's somebody you've commentated on, you've watched up close as a Purewal commentator with him being with Purewal. The Bam Rodriguez fight is one which everybody would love to see. What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's a great fight. And I think every time I watch Sonny Edwards, I start finding more reasons to say that I don't think there's anyone out there that could beat him. You know, he's stuck a line gloves on him. And I said this I've said that on commentary a couple of times, and I don't want to sound like a corporate ass kisser, like I'm kissing his ass because he's on our network that I work for. I'm not like that. I've never been like that. I never will be like that. That's probably why I'm not on Sky or whatever you want to call it, because I just tell the truth and what I see. And what I'm seeing at the moment is a fighter with stupid confidence, where he's got this weird confidence in himself that he's not even going to get caught or hurt, never mind beat. And I'm watching him on the night, and he delivers, and the fighters are struggling to land gloves on him. And what I've said on commentary a couple of times, back to what I was saying then, is if he was heavier, if he was a lightweight, we'd be going on about him and raving about him so much. If he was a middleweight or a super middleweight doing what he's doing, it would be unheard of. Because he's down in the lighter weight divisions where there's only a couple of pound difference between some brilliant fighters. If he moved down and Taraji down at that below, Kenshiro, unbelievable fights all around the weight down at his weight or the weight above. But the Rodriguez one, yeah, it's some fight. But honestly, at the minute, again, I'm not just saying, but I can't see anyone beating him at the moment down at them weights. There's some great fights out there, and if he gets tagged, he will go off some of the bigger punches. But landing on him is a different story, isn't it? As I say, that confidence that he's got, he's doing great at the moment, and it's been enjoyable watching the last few fights he's had.
Paul, I'm just going to squeeze one more out of you because I've got a few minutes still to go.
Yep.
Just simply because he's obviously been training with Liam now, in addition to that, Jim and the team, Josh Taylor, getting ready for the Jack Catterall rematch. To your knowledge, how has Josh settled into the gym, and also what does he have to do to be able to have his hand raised in a more convincing fashion in the rematch than the controversial ending we saw in the first fight?
I don't see him all that much. I saw him today. I wish him all the best today and Merry Christmas and whatever, because he was in the gym, but he's just getting in as we're leaving. So he's getting the late session. So I don't get to watch that much, but from what I'm watching and what I'm hearing, he's enjoying it. He's adapting. He's fitting in. He's enjoying the Scouse humour and the Scouse hospitality. He's getting braver. He's riding to the gym on a scooter now, so he's getting a bit braver around the area, but he's okay. But I think he's a roughing himself in. He fits in well down here. But I think last time I've said it, and I can't back out and shy out now because he's in the same gym or he's training in the same building as my brother, with the same coaches. But I felt Catterall won the fight. I felt Catterall won it well. So to better himself this time, Taylor, he's got to be on it. He's got to not take Catterall lightly. He's got to get the weight right. He's got to get everything right on the night. And before the fight, I felt Taylor would have had a little bit too much for Catterall. That could be the same way this time. That could be one of those unfortunate things if you Jack Catterall, where that was your best performance, what you had, and you really did great that night, but you got robbed. And it might be there for the rematch. He might rise to that level again. He might come in and be even better and even more confident, Jack Catterall, because he feels that he won and he was robbed blind, which a lot of us will agree about. But it's a great fight. I tweeted about it the other night. Sky Sports put something out that the fight's being made, and I don't tweet much about fights or anything that's made, but I say to me, it's going to be some fight. This, I can see it being another cracker. I can see a knockdown or two in it, and I think both fighters will want to leave it all in there to prove that they won the first one, even though Taylor didn't. In most people's opinion, he got the decision and he feels he won it, and he's never backed down from that. Jack Catterall will always believe that he won it, and he'll want to put that right. So it's one I'm really looking forward to, and I'll be there watching, and I'll enjoy it definitely.
Right, Paul, we will wrap that up there, and I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your day and, of course, what's left of this year. Wish the best to the lads in the gym and enjoy what's ahead for you ahead of 2023. So thank you for speaking to me in ID Boxing.
Thanks, mate. Nice to speak to you.